Hey, Web3 Curious friends. Today's episode was shot live in Austin, Texas at Consensus. I want to give a shout out to our two sponsors, Laos and BitLayer. Laos makes NFT trading easy and cost effective, and BitLayer is the first Bitcoin security equivalent layer 2 based on the BitVM paradigm. On today's show, you'll hear from four guests. First, we have Mark Long to discuss how Shrapnel is an intensely competitive AAA extraction shooter launching on PC in 2025 with early access in 2024. Second, we have Chrissy Hill from Parity to discuss the roadmap for Polkadot and why now is a great time to participate in its growing ecosystem. Third, we spoke with Nic Santomauro, who is the head of growth at Magic Eden, where we discussed why making the strategic choice last year to build a Bitcoin marketplace for ordinals was the right choice. And finally, get to hear from the CEO, Dean Tribble, who talks about seamlessly programming multi-chain apps in JavaScript on Agoric. It's time to cue the intro.
Welcome to The Edge of NFT, the podcast that brings you the top 1% of Web3 today and what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts of the business side and also the human element of how Web3 is changing the way we interact with the things we love. This podcast is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers who are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next.
Hey everyone, Richard Carthon here with Edge of NFT. I have a very special guest. We have Mark Long, who is the CEO of Shrapnel here at Consensus. And we're really happy to have you here and learn more about all the amazing things that you guys have been building. I know a year ago when I first walked in, there's a gigantic place where you could walk in and play the game. Right, yeah. And a year later, there's just so much more that has happened. So I just want to start there, just like from a year ago when people could come and play the game to now, like what does that look like?
Well, first of all, that was the first time anybody could play the game. And that's really important to us, like to let the community have access to the game ahead of anybody else. And it was the first time the public had played the game, and you're very nervous about it. AAA development, normally you develop a game in secret for a couple of years, and then you only release it when it's absolutely perfect. So this kind of development, we're engaging with the community so much earlier, is very foreign to us, but it's working out great.
I would agree. I remember playing the game. I was like, "There's no way this is Web3." It was like the most polished and high definition, and being able to play even multiple players at the same time, and even being able to go to other places. I remember, I believe I went to Korea, was able to try it again out there and like keep doing the iterations of it. So I know we're getting even closer to prime time with that. But how has the community been helping with providing the feedback and getting it ready to its go time?
So it's been really interesting. We're doing an early access that I think only one or two other game companies have done. So our focus is releasing the game for short periods of time. Like we just did something called Shrapnel Training Exercise 3 over the weekend. We'll put it up for 72 hours. And then you have a survey at the end of that play, and we're able to take direct player feedback. If we put it up 24/7, then we'd mostly be dealing with people's kind of mundane problems, like my kid took my credit card and bought $1,000 worth, give me my money back kind of thing. Right. Instead, we're only focused on improvements to the gameplay and also stability. If the game isn't super stable, then it won't be fun to play. So it's worked out in a really great way. I think we're getting, we're able to, I would say the gun feel and camera are just right where we want it to be. And if you play FPSs, if the gun feel is off, like in the first 10 seconds, you'll be like, it just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't, yeah. I'm a big first-person shooter gamer myself, of the crew. Definitely love gaming. And I actually want to take a step back, like, what got you into Web3 gaming, right? Like, so obviously you have a passion for building out amazing games, but why make the transition over to blockchain and get everything going over there?
Well, I'm an OG crypto investor going back to 2014, but I really wasn't evangelized or radicalized by Web3 until 2020, when another game development company told me what they were doing and how they were raising tokens, and then I heard about Axie Infinity for the first time. And to have a $12 billion market cap like they did in a game that nobody in regular gaming knew about just kind of blew my mind. And then as we looked into what blockchain could do, I realized everybody was really kind of going for a money grab instead of really embracing what the technology could do. So for example, in our game, it's a UGC game. Players will be able to make their own content and maps. And if you think about Roblox, kids have made millions of games in Roblox, but they only play like 3 or 5. Part of the reason is a kid has no way to promote his own content. So we looked at blockchain and saw there would be a novel way to promote, and that is you or I could stake a map that we really love. Like, these guys have a lot of heart. They're making a really cool map. Nobody knows about it. We could get other people to stake against it. And then if the map gets played, we benefit as well. It's an example of how I think you can bring the community completely in line with the developer, so everybody's trying to make and have the same thing.
Absolutely, and I like that approach of one, just the journey of how you got here and seeing how market caps got as good as they get, but like, how do you get that stickiness? How do you get that retention? How do you actually get to where anybody coming from Web 2 or over just is in love with the game, right? Yeah. Forget all the tokenomics, all the extra stuff, but like, how do we make a game that we just are fired up about? And obviously, y'all been putting a lot of attention into that, but I want to say that train of thought of obviously building and getting so much feedback for this end product that is Shrapnel. How have you seen Web3 gaming evolve since you have now entered and been part of creating it?
So, we were one of the first in 2021 to raise a big round. And now you have a handful of games I'm really excited about. You have Off the Grid, Dead Drop, Off the Grid with Neil Blomkamp, one of my favorite directors is the creative director. With Dead Drop, you got Dr. Disrespect as a creative director there, and that guy's bananas, man. And so what he's doing is, you could just see it, like they're taking big, bold chances. You've got Wild Card, you've got Metalcore. So now there's more than a handful of games that I think we can all be excited about. And then if we're successful, you'll only have more, right?
Right, and I think they're coming. And one of the other components of this is, again, I know y'all been so hyper-focused on building a great game, but you also have the really cool blockchain elements. So like, what are some of those elements that in Web3 gaming that Shrapnel offers that your traditional Web 2 person might not know is happening, but they actually are getting access to?
Well, digital ownership is the thing we most want to evangelize. Players have been playing with virtual currency they only use in one game. They're buying items they can't really own, right? But for us, being a UGC title, it's more about player creators making their own content. So you'd be able to make, first of all, you could reserve your own gamer tag. You can make your own emblems or patches or decals. You'll be able to skin your own characters. You can already skin your own weapons. And then eventually the last thing will be the map tool. So we're taking the Unreal editor and making it so players can be successful with it. But it's the same version of the editor that we use. You're going to be able to do incredibly sophisticated things in the map editor. And I think players are ready for it, starting with Minecraft and then aging into Roblox, and then you have Fortnite, EFN. 50% of the content now played by players is made in Fortnite by other players. So, but if you turn 18 to 35, there's nothing for you to age into. And I just think players are ready to make games at a professional level.
I think so as well, and I think giving them the option to do so, and not just to do so and rip the benefits of this, the satisfaction of players being able to play it, but actually monetarily be able to do that too as like a next step. This is the power of Web3 gaming and what I see coming. But in that same vein, 2024 is already starting off pretty bullish. There's a lot of really exciting things already beginning to occur. But where do you see Web3 gaming headed as you look out at the rest of this year and into 2025?
I see a lot of recapitulation in free-to-play gaming to Web3. When free-to-play was when I first saw it in Korea and came back to the United States, and I told my business partner, dude, you cannot compete with free. If this thing ever gets out of Asia, it's going to change game monetization completely. And at the same time, the App Store was released, and we were in a discovery phase. Like, our games $14.99 on mobile, or are they $7.99, are they $1.99? And then there was a game called Mega Jump that came out, and it was free. Within 10 months, the entire App Store flipped to free to play. That's how fast it happened. And I predict the same thing. Once developers see, holy shit, these players playing Web3 monetize better, they're more loyal, they're a community that is aligned instead of toxic, the community will all, the industry will all instantly flip over. The only problem is because crypto isn't regulated yet, the majors like Microsoft, Sony, Riot, they can't legally own crypto. And so regulation will be the next phase. But that means independent developers like us have a chance to become the next big publisher developers.
I agree. I think this is that moment where you can really come in and put your stake in the claim and really set the industry forward. And just going back to the flipping of free to play versus this becoming the norm of being able to have ownership and letting your community really decide. I think Web3 gaming, once you have these new elements come in, will begin to take over as well. Obviously we're here at Consensus. Why did you find Shrapnel having a presence here this year so important to everything that's coming for you this year?
Well, I really love Consensus. It's actually a pretty scholarly conference underneath. The panels and papers and speakers are all really well vetted. So first of all, when you come here, if you attend the panels, you're going to learn a lot. And then in terms of the United States, there's a lot of crypto conferences, but there's not one that comes together like, I liken it to the game developers conference. Like these are all Web3 developers that show up. And so beyond just making awareness of your tools and services, you're also able to kind of geek out with your fellow DJs, right? And you don't really get a chance to do that except once a year at Consensus.
Yeah. Well, definitely appreciate it. And I know there's a lot of exciting things happening with Shrapnel. So can you tell us a little bit about the roadmap that is coming out for the rest of the year that you can share?
Yeah, so we're doing these Shrapnel training exercises where, as I described earlier, we bring the game up for a period of time, bring it down. That frequency and duration is going to increase. So we hope the next exercise will actually be almost a week long and then only a month away. And then after that, we want to move to 2 weeks apart and longer. So eventually we go live for a whole week. And then by the end of the year, we want to go live. But we also, the most important thing of all, you know this instinctively and your audience does too. The game has to be good.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if it's Web3, if it isn't good. So the game has to be good. And the best developers don't really lock themselves into a schedule. They say, when the game is ready, we'll release it. But so far, right on track for the end of the year.
Well, that's exciting. I'm excited to play it. I continue to play it. Round one was amazing, and each generation that I've been able to play keeps getting even better. So, Mark, how can people learn more about Shrapnel, become part of the community, and be able to follow everything that you got going on?
Certainly the best place is, of course, shrapnel.com, where you can register. And then follow us on Twitter, follow us on Discord. Discord community is great, really great community, super active, and you'll learn everything about what's going on there.
Perfect. Well, Mark, thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a good time here at Consensus, and look forward to seeing everything that's going on with Shrapnel.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Richard.
Of course. Hey everybody, Richard Carthon here from the Edge of NFT, and we are live at Consensus Day 2. Been a lot of interesting conversation, meeting a lot of amazing people, but today we have a special treat for you today. We have Chrissy Hill, who is the COO and CLO over at Parity, who's doing incredible things over at Polkadot, and I'm excited to learn more about everything you have going on. A little fun fact, she is from South Carolina, but living in London, and a lot of amazing accents in the household. But I'm glad you're here at Consensus. How's the experience been so far?
It's been great. It's electric, actually. And living in London, this is always a good excuse to get back to this part of the world. I actually just came from Indianapolis,
Okay.
where a Polkadot sponsored car driven by Connor Daly led for 22 laps.
Yeah.
So I got to see that, and I'm here with my 8-year-old actually, so she's gotten to experience a lot of what the US is all about. So it's exciting for her to come and also see what I do.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to bring the family along and see everything that's going on. And,
Absolutely. And the Polkadot community is like hugely welcoming for people like me and people like her, and she's the youngest Polkadotter.
Yeah, which is extremely cool. And one of the things I really appreciate about Polkadot is your presence, especially at a lot of different events. So at Consensus, if you're not physically here, Polkadot has a really large setup here, all of the different parts of the ecosystem, a lot of showcasing of what's going on. But obviously you have a lot of quick facts to share with us. A couple that you dropped with us that I think is also great. But then I kind of want to dive into all the different parts of the ecosystem that makes Polkadot as special as it is.
Right. So we are the world's largest DAO. We are the only $10 billion community where all governance decisions are made on chain, and something we're very proud of and has been central to our philosophy, our ethos, and also our regulatory approach, which as the chief legal officer, is very important for Parity and also the wider ecosystem. And the ecosystem has over 600 projects now across Polkadot and Kusama. And Kusama is our canary network. So there's a lot of really interesting developments coming in 2024. We have, we've been focusing on Polkadot 1.0. And Polkadot 2.0 focuses on asynchronous backing, elastic scaling, agile core time, which will make all of these wonderful attributes of Polkadot available to the biggest enterprise and institutions to the smallest tinkerers. Yeah. And I think that's, again, really fundamental to what we do. And then in Dubai at 2049, Token 2049, Dr. Gavin Wood, who's the chief architect of Polkadot, announced JAM, which is Polkadot 3.0, and that will be here hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years. So we've got a really clear roadmap, and I think it's a really exciting place to be, that even myself, not as a dev, but as a lawyer and operationally focused, I feel like it's setting us up for the future.
I agree. So I was at Token as well and heard about that announcement. I was like, it's amazing.
Were you there?
I was.
Oh, wow.
So, who knew that it rained in Dubai?
Oh my God.
We all found out
together. Did you have to get in one of those shopping carts?
Oh,
and be
so
very...
much happened. I can show you videos after this. It was,
really?
It was crazy.
Richard, that's crazy.
But the news of that roadmap, like you said, I love when there's consistency around, here's where we're going, and we'll show you how we're going to get there, and how, you said, over 600 parts of the ecosystem and growing, and a lot of different areas of focus. So obviously being here at Consensus and continuing to show different types of users, whether you're a developer, whether you're your everyday user, or whether you're someone in Web 2 thinking about coming over to Web 3, there's a lot of ways to be a part of this growing ecosystem. What do you think are some of those first steps that have people excited to come and participate in what Parity has going on?
Well, I think being able to participate in governance is something that is really important to people all the time, but particularly we're in a mega election year across the world, and so governance is a topic that is at near and dear to a lot of people's hearts within Web3, but also generally within the community. So having that very active community, I think, attracts people. We've got all the different verticals that you would imagine to be representative within Polkadot. But, today there was a really exciting announcement by Mythical Games and Pudgy Penguins about a collaboration, and Mythical is building on Polkadot. Right. And that's NFL Rivals, John Linden. He brought Call of Duty to the market. Yep. So from the gaming perspective, that's pretty phenomenal, really. We have Frank McCourt, Project Liberty through MeWe, decentralized social media, and of course, Mr. McCourt just is making a bid for TikTok. Right. We've got Kilt, which is all about digital identity, and they're collaborating with Deloitte. We've got Centrifuge, Real World Assets. Edge of NFT, Unique Network, focusing on NFTs, and especially the one with Connor Daly on Indianapolis 500, and the list goes on. DeFi, it's everything you would expect. And I think, so one of the things about Substrate, which is of course, the SDK for Polkadot, is that it is something that is easily built upon, but we are very conscious that we want to continue to work on the developer experience, make sure it's not complicated, make sure it's open to everyone, from the most sophisticated Rust developers to those who are fluent in other programming languages and other approaches. So it's something that I'm very fortunate to watch some of the best in the business work on a day-to-day basis.
Incredible, and especially the big announcement with Mythical and everything else going on. Obviously, Parity and everything else within the ecosystem has so much going on. Like you said, with governance, it's very important. And the fact that, like you said, 10 billion and it has to be voted upon and things like that, it's a very powerful. All on chain.
All on chain.
It's a direction that I think a lot of the industry is probably going to follow. And being able to set all that up is its own set of challenges. And of course, you being legal, I'm sure you're all over that. But something I do want to lean into just for a little bit more is, roadmaps around like what does the future look like. So there's a lot of projects, unfortunately, that when they first came into the game, they were thinking very narrowly, let's call it 6 to maybe 18 months, and not really thinking about, okay, what does this next decade look like? Like, what are we ultimately headed towards? And Dot for me has always had that in mind. And obviously you keep going with more and more steps towards that. I mean, even working with Deloitte, working with all these enterprises. Why do you think people who is listening to this and maybe has been on the fence of like, I've heard about Dot, I haven't really done anything, like, why is 2024 the reason, hey, I need to not only pay attention to this, I need to start taking action?
Well, I think we're at a real inflection point across the world generally, but also within Web3, right? This is from an adoption perspective where we're being talked about in the mainstream. And when I say we, I mean, if you're about Polkadot, you're about a multi-chain future, right? We're not tribalistic. We're all about interoperability. And I think that is also very fundamental to how we want to interact with the whole industry, and also those who aren't part of Web3 yet, and bring them into the fold, because the digital economy is the future. Oh. And I mean, my 13-year-old and 8-year-old, they spent 2 years of their lives on Roblox, right? They're very comfortable with the digital identity, and it's the future. It's where we're going. And so to be a part of, I think, a project like Polkadot, where we are building that future, it's 2024, you don't want to be left behind, right?
Right.
And I think you're going to see a lot more adoption around the world of some of these fundamental philosophies, concern about privacy. We're in the States, I should. And inclusion, and just leveling the playing field, I think, and getting more people involved and active in, again, this digital world that we're creating. It's the time now.
It is the time, and it's ever since getting into the Web3, this is the future that I knew was coming, but it's not just talking about it. Things are happening all the time between regulations passing, ETFs passing. Absolutely. So much more that's on the way. I think this is going to be a very exciting year, and obviously Fit 21.
And seeing that bipartisan effort was, especially sitting outside the U.S., but being a very patriotic American, it warmed my heart to see that type of bipartisan effort, which I think is actually more prevalent in other countries and jurisdictions, but to see that happening in the U.S. for so many reasons. And I hope it's just the start of that dialogue. And because in the end, it's about innovation and progress, and what Americans are great at. So let's keep focusing on that, whatever your political affiliation, across all industries and all walks of life. And
absolutely. But to your point, the bipartisan piece, I think the more that we can do bipartisan things as it relates to Web3 and keep innovation going, and also putting in frameworks that allow for innovation and progress to happen at an accelerated rate, we have great things ahead. So, this has been an absolute joy. For all those who somehow don't know about Polkadot, how can they learn more and also potentially connect with you?
Right. So, I mean, we're active across all the normal socials, Instagram, X. That's, of course, where our devs are most active. Discord, but I think start with Polkadot. Parity, who I work for, it's the leading contributor from a tech perspective to Polkadot, but really start with the Polkadot wiki, find out about staking, find out about, how DOT is a utility token, and just do your research in the normal places. I'm most active on LinkedIn because I kind of think you have to pick one. And
gotta pick a lane. Gotta pick one.
And I've picked that. So it's Chrissy Hill, you'll see me with the red hair and the Polkadot sign, and I really would love to hear from anyone. And I've only been 2.5 years in this space, so the learning curve has been quite steep. But it has been the frontier of law and regulation, and really a society. And I think it's where the future is going, and I think it's very hopeful, optimistic future. So be a part of it.
I agree. Well, 2 years in the space is like 5 years anywhere else.
I know, it's like dog years, isn't it, Richard?
It is. Hey, well, Chrissy, absolute joy. Thank you for joining us, and hope you enjoy the rest of Consensus.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for having me.
All right.
And now for a quick word from our sponsor before we dive into the next segment. Are you ready to take your sports predictions to the next level? Look no further than maincard.io, the fantasy management platform that's taking the blockchain world by storm. With MainCard, every card is a ticket to excitement. You can predict sport outcomes, trade cards in the marketplace, and challenge opponents in thrilling weekly duels. And don't wait. Head to maincard.io now and start earning rewards with your NFTs because it pays to be early. And now back to today's episode. A quick word from our sponsors who's ready to navigate the cutting edge of tomorrow's legal landscape. Because at Zuber Lawler, they're not just attorneys, they're visionaries. With expertise in emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and the metaverse, they're paving the way for you to seize the future. For mergers and acquisitions to IP, their selective team delivers strategic solutions tailored to the ever-changing world of technology. Join us at Zuber Lawler, where the future meets the law at zuberlawler.com. Back to the episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Edge of NFT, and I am Richard Carthon. I'm live at Consensus here in Austin, Texas, 2024, and I have another really awesome guest with us today. We have Nic Santomauro, who is a visionary in the NFT space and a key player at Magic Eden. He's also leading the marketplace, revolutionizing digital collectibles. He has a keen eye for innovation with a passion for democratizing art, and has been instrumental in turning Magic Eden into the go-to platform for NFT enthusiasts and creators alike. Nic, pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Yeah. Well, there's so much that's been going on in the space. Magic Eden has taken a really cool stance, not just getting involved in NFTs, but also on the ordinals and the rune side, and so much coming in that direction. So before we dive into all that, like, I first want to learn just a little bit about you. Like, how did you even get into Web3?
Yeah. I was probably part of the 2017 class, but I got in a little bit earlier than that. Kind of like mid 2016. My buddy just kind of hushed over to me and was like, "Yo, Ethereum, bro," and I just kind of got into it from that angle. And I was working at Apple at the time, just kind of day trading in between. 2017 run happened, lost everything that I gained, one of those totally give it back to the market kind of situations. But just double down, learn how to trade a little bit more, was really diving into the tech, and I knew it was going to happen again. Right. So I didn't want to miss that next run. And 2020 started, I got a job at Binance. They were one of my clients at Apple. And it was just unbelievable to kind of combine a passion with a work experience. And so the passion just grew from there. Was their head of growth for 3.5 years. And then once the whole Binance thing was going down in the US, they kind of didn't want any more US employees. So made the jump to Magic Eden, and I've been loving it ever since.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I've been in the space just around the same amount of time back in 2018.
Nice.
And it's definitely been a very interesting 6-year journey, right? Lots of peaks and valleys, lots of things that have defined different moments in time. And I think one of the moments in time that I'm paying a lot of attention to right now is the world of ordinals, BRC20s, runes, etc.
Yeah.
And right now, I think Magic Eden is helping to lead the way for that particular marketplace. So what was the strategic move for Magic Eden to evaluate and create this marketplace for people to come and participate in?
Yeah. So I wasn't around at the time when we came up with the idea. It was back in 2023 when when ordinals started. We launched our platform in March 2023. And from what I was told around the strategy at the time was, hey, this provenance has a chance to be something really big because Bitcoin was the first mover advantage since back in 2009. What if it has kind of that wave that Ethereum had, and now there's even kind of more capital in the system, and it could be even bigger than Ethereum NFTs one day. And so they kind of went down that path. They built it out, and there was a little bit of pop at first, but then there was that long trough. And then things finally started catching on. People finally started realizing that you could actually do something with your Bitcoin and keep it in the Bitcoin ecosystem without having to go to centralized solutions, custodied solutions, and you can actually make more Bitcoin with your Bitcoin. And so just kind of getting out in front of that and realizing that there are a ton of people that love Bitcoin all over the world. Why would we not put ourselves in that situation where we could really dominate the market early?
Yeah. And I think during those conversations, I was very forward thinking because it's definitely coming out truly tenfold, right? You have your Bitcoin ETFs that got approved this year. Recently, Ethereum ETFs have picked up, but all of this attention, I think right now is around both of these ecosystems, especially around Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So when Magic Eden looks at its roadmap right now, kind of looking into the rest of the year, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely love Bitcoin. We love that entire ecosystem that's kind of burgeoning there. We're seeing those L2s pop up, that kind of stuff. Do we want to be a player on the L2 that wins? That kind of stuff. But we're also looking at it too from like a UX perspective in all of Web3. You have to go to like 10 different websites to lend, buy NFTs, trade fungibles, like do all these different things. And it's just kind of a nightmare having all that UX in all these different places. There's scams everywhere, all that stuff. So we kind of see an opportunity to really put that into one place. We see an opportunity to become, if you look at our mission statement, we don't actually just talk about NFTs. We talk about just digital ownership, right? So that moves beyond NFTs. We see those UX problems and we want to solve them, and we want to move beyond just NFTs. And so I think you're going to start seeing us move that direction a little bit more. We think we can help the industry finally solve that UX problem, and why not us?
Yeah, I like it, man. The user experience piece of this has always been one of the largest challenges, not just for newbies coming into this space, but even some of your OGs, like having to do all these different steps, having to go all the different places, what part's safe maybe than others, and being able to not stress about that entire UX is very important.
Exactly.
So as y'all are continuing to build into that, and you think about, okay, well, what are the companies we want to be working with right now for Magic Eden? If someone's listening to this right now and they're like, cool, how do I become part of Magic Eden? Like, what does that user journey look like?
Yeah, so right now we have 3 like actual real business lines stood up. We're actually already more than just NFTs, right? So we have our cross-chain NFT marketplace with all the major trading chains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Base, and Polygon. Also, as a teaser, looking to expand more from there. But we also have fungible trading already. We have runes right now. We're at 65% market share last I checked for runes. That means that we already have a real fungibles business. And we have our wallet, our Magic Eden wallet, with over 200,000 users already.
Wow.
I don't know if people know that yet. Yeah, so those 3 kind of business lines, you can get involved in any single way. And right now they're kind of a little bit separate in terms of like, how you interact with each other. But we're going to be getting really, really close with all those different business lines. We want to solve that UX problem. And so combining those 3 businesses we have with more businesses in the future is just going to kind of bring everything together and just make it convenient for users and a safer experience. So I don't think it's about any one way to get involved with Magic Eden. I think, right now we have those 3 ways, but in the future there's going to be a lot of ways that you can get involved.
Most definitely, and I think one that really stood out to me is I had no idea that Magic Eden had that many wallet users. Yeah. I know that Magic Eden had a wallet, but I had no idea that there was that much adoption. So of course there's always so many ways that you can interact with a wallet, and there's so many other pieces of that. So there's a lot of unique opportunities to be able to work with Magic Eden.
Agreed.
And so with joining the company, of course, one of the beautiful things is how do you keep evolving? Like how do you keep getting more users in? How do you keep growing your community and all of that kind of stuff? Mm-hmm. As you look at 2024, like what are some of the things that Magic Eden is looking at doing to continue to grow and spread the word of all these amazing features that you have? Yeah,
so that does come down to a marketing problem, right? You have the way we're kind of looking at it is like different cohorts of people. We think the crypto-enabled world audience is about 500 million people right now. We think that's like mostly like centralized exchanges. And then if you get into like the Web3 space, it's much smaller, probably like the 30 to 50 million Web3 space. And then NFTs are even smaller than that. They're probably about 5 million people in there. And so what we really ideally want to do is not grow the 500 million to the rest of the 8 billion people in the world. We don't want to play in that ballpark, right? What we want to do is we want to play in the Web3 30 million people cohort. And then we also ultimately want to get people from centralized exchanges into the decentralized space because, not your keys, not your coins kind of thing, right? So that's kind of how we're thinking about it. How do we make products and services such that the 30 million people have their lives benefited in a way where we're actually solving their problems, right? And then how do we get that 500 million people to make that trek into Web3? That's a little bit harder to do. That's a little bit more upper funnel for us. So that 30 million people that we really are targeting right now is, we think, the biggest opportunity. But if we ultimately think from a utilitarian perspective and make products that solve people's problems, we think they're going to come to us. Right now, I think a lot of the times, like Web3, other dApps, they're just kind of focused on like trading infrastructure and that kind of stuff, which is great, right? But if you're not solving people's day-to-day problems, then you're not going to move beyond just ebbs and flows and cycles and that kind of stuff. We want to get to a place where it's sure, it's going to be a little bit cyclical for the future. But we want to get to a place where you have to use crypto because you used it once and you're never going to go back the other way.
That's right, and I think that's the right line of thinking as we head into the future. But even speaking to solving immediate problems that are there, I know myself when I think about like people that have been in that 30 million that you're talking about have been Bitcoin maxis. And I have nothing against Bitcoin maxis, but I know that they're really excited about the potential of all these things between ordinals, runes, everything else, all these nice Ethereum-esque and other players in this space, things that have been built that can now be built on Bitcoin, right? From DeFi to art to lending to so much more. And having a place where they can go and immediately start to interact and do some of those things, like a Magic Eden, is solving that problem. And now expanding their minds to like, oh, well, yeah, Bitcoin's awesome, but like, oh, they also do stuff on all these other platforms. Let me check that out, right? So you're solving an immediate problem, but people get curious. People want to learn more, and that's when they start looking at other offerings. So I think going at that approach is very smart, and also working with the immediate problems of the audience that you have.
Yeah.
So when you look at 2024 and everything that's happening just in the world of Web3, and right now, of course, things are turning more bullish because of just where the market is, ETFs, regulation, everything else. Where do you think the world of marketplaces will be 12 months from now?
12 months from now is tough. I do see consolidation at some point, right? And I think that's kind of what we're talking about right now a little bit. We have those 3 business lines. Does it really need to be 10 different websites for you to do everything you need to do in Web3? We don't think so. We think it should be convenient. We think 1 or 2 clicks to get to the other things that you want to do should all be in one place. You don't need all these different links that maybe you could have, a drainer kind of mixed in on one of them. I don't know if it's going to get there in 12 months, but I think one of the things that we're doing really well right now internally, just to toot our own horn a little bit, is we're kind of thinking beyond 12 months a little bit too. We're thinking in that short term, in that 6 to 12 month area. Of course, you have to be able to be dynamic and pivot when competitors come at you a little bit. But we also want to be thinking 2-3 years out, right? Where's the industry going? What are those problems that we're going to need to get out in front of and skate to where the puck is going? So I don't know if it's going to happen in 12 months, but we believe in 3 years, there's going to be heavy consolidation. So much so that it's not just per chain consolidation, but across chain consolidation. You have your futures exchanges on all these different chains, right? You have NFT marketplaces on all these different chains. We ideally see a world where the chain experience gets put to the background, and it's really just about solving user problems, right? From an NFT perspective, if you have Bitcoin and you want to buy a Solana NFT, it should be as seamless as 1 click. We're building products to that end. And so we really want to solve the user experience. We really want to make sure that people are safe in a protected environment where they still are in that Web3 ethos where we're not owning their coins, but they still can feel safe at the same time.
The juxtaposition of decentralized and security is always one of those that makes it, that UX experience, like we said, that can be very challenging, but directly addressing that and trying to make that one step versus all of these, I think it's the ultimate solution. So I'm very excited to hear Magic Eden is going after that. And there's a lot of other amazing updates and things that are happening. So people who want to follow Magic Eden and become more involved or even keep up with all the things that you're doing, how can they do that?
Yeah, so another big marketing campaign kicking off kind of mid-June, late June. So I think that's going to be the next phase of hearing what's coming from us. We'll probably take that into July. So what we're gonna do for the industry is define what we see as the problems. And then in July, I think we're going to try and show how we're going about solving those problems. So it shouldn't be hard to follow along. We're actively looking to get the message out there and showcase what we believe are the problems and how we're going to solve them. And so just, follow us on Twitter at Magic Eden. We are getting into TikTok. We want to onboard that Gen Z audience that is Wall Street bets kind of, they want to start making a financial name for themselves. And we want to make financial incentives and prerogatives for everybody. So we definitely want to keep expanding our channel strategy. So ideally, you don't have to come find us; we'll come find you. But if not, Magic Eden on Twitter is probably our number one source at this point.
Perfect. And if someone wants to potentially keep up with what Nic's got going
Yeah.
on, is there a way to do that?
I do have my own handle, Nic Santoma, at Twitter, but that's just me shit posting a little bit. You know, I'm not going to be talking too much business there. I do try and prognosticate a little bit, but try and keep those a little bit separate.
Yeah, completely understand.
Yeah.
Well, Nic, I really appreciate it. And I guess one final question for you. You're here at Consensus. Why Consensus? Why be here in this moment for this event?
Yeah, I mean, I just love coming here for the environment. The energy is still here. Bull or bear, every year the energy is just through the roof, right? Yeah. This is where builders are. People don't really care about cycles as much here, right? They're going to build bull or bear no matter what. And that kind of energy just like gets me up in the morning, right? I love knowing that we're not just building a shitcoin casino. I love knowing that we are building something real that's going to have a lot of value and improve a lot of people's lives with it.
Absolutely. And walking around here and seeing the thousands of people, it's very real.
Yes.
And so, Nic, glad you're here to be a part of it, and appreciate you talking with us
Thanks
today.
for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, Richard from Edge of NFT here, and we are live at Consensus, and I have Dean Tribble from Agoric. Excited to learn more about everything that you guys have going on. How has your Consensus overall experience been so far?
It has been just great. Now, a lot of what we do is side events, because we're in this extended ecosystem, in the Cosmos ecosystem, connect all these chains. But it pulls people in and to a great town. It's been a great experience.
Great, man. Well, I've also been having a great time. We've been talking with a lot of amazing people, and I wanted to make sure I spent a quick moment to spend time learning more about Agoric, and so our audience could learn more as well. So can you just give us a little overview of what's Agoric about, and how, what are some of the next steps that are happening throughout the rest?
Absolutely. So Agoric is a layer 1 chain based on Cosmos SDK, so Cosmos ecosystem, for doing smart contracts in JavaScript. Right? Rather than try and teach people a brand new language, there are 15 million developers out there that already understand JavaScript. If we want to reach them in the future, in order to have all of this technology that we're doing roll out into all the areas of daily life, we need to be able to have those programmers build this stuff. And that's where we started. That's where our future ramp up and mission is. But it turns out we're solving a much nearer term problem as people came out of the woodwork and go, can I use it to do this thing? Can I, that is, we're challenged by now. And so we're starting to find exciting product market fit with our platform now for what's called chain abstraction.
Okay. Well, let's stay there for a second, because, one of the most important things I think within ecosystems is making sure that you have a way to get good talents and developers that are coming over into Web3. Most of them know how to do Java.
Yep.
So you already have a barrier to entry that makes it a lot easier. So tell us a little bit more about.
Sure. So, about the JavaScript part, yeah. So we've actually been in the JavaScript Standards Committee, some of our people, for 15 years now. They came in precisely to add to JavaScript the elements so that you could do smart contracts. We worked on smart contracts. I worked on the first production smart contract in 1989. And we've worked on smart contract systems that are pre-blockchain, that were about software that's enforcing the terms of a contract-like arrangement between third parties, like eBay and PayPal and Airbnb and Uber and Lyft. And those are all smart contract businesses, $1 trillion market cap, before we ever get to blockchain. And so now we're bringing all those ideas and all that stuff into blockchain that just adds this new layer of integrity. And it's really exciting to see what the combination is. But all of that was around, how do we get a lot of developers to do this so we can get a lot more systems helping strangers to cooperate in new ways. And so that's been our sort of driving vision, is software enabling people to cooperate. And so it's just great to be able to actually now build that in this context that easily goes international, that easily incorporates, all these services that people are building now.
Absolutely, and with being able to have a language that's so accessible, what are some of the first use cases of people coming and building on Agoric for your layer 1? Like how has the community responded with building some of these different tools?
Yeah, so it is a general purpose platform, so people are building a broad spectrum of things. The very first thing that rolled out was a MakerDAO-like stable token, right? A stable coin. For the Cosmos ecosystem. So you can take Atom or Osmo or Celestia token, whatever, bring it over as collateral, and mint this stable token, IST, against it, and use that for commerce on various Cosmos chains. It's now bridged over to Polkadot chains, and people are looking at getting it over to ETH and that sort of thing. So that's all written in JavaScript in this thing where people could easily understand it. There is a project that launched NFT, new kind of NFT, where you could do what we call hierarchical NFTs, right? I've got a player character, I've got an NFT for my game character. They have an inventory. right? Selling you, transferring to you the character with the inventory is very different than transferring a character that does not have it. So the NFT is this compound thing that is both the unique character and what they were equipped with, right? Same architecture, that same notion of property would let me sell you a ticket for a concert that includes a VIP parking pass and 2 drink tickets that I could separate out and sell to someone else instead. Or you could, once I transfer that whole thing to you, you could pull it apart and send out these pieces. And so that ability to do new kinds of property easily in a way that, again, millions of developers can understand, you can use VS Code, the most popular development environment on the planet, to be able to build this stuff is really cool. And so those projects built and launched. What people are excited about now is we have a very unique ability in JavaScript to deploy these cross-chain applications, which, now with the success of interop, with the success of IBC, and with the success of modular with Celestia and Dimension and Saga and all the ETH-L2s and those kinds of things, you've got this explosion of small chains, application chains, special purpose chains that all want to, they've all got communications wired up with their protocols, but man, programming that is hard, right? And so users want to be able to just go in and use all that stuff, but but programming those simple use cases is hard. In Web 2 world, people are used to, I push button and I order a hamburger and it's get delivered to my house. And I do not know whether it uses Amazon or whether it uses Google or whether it uses Shopify or 6 different other things that I've never heard of. What I want is my hamburger delivered hot. And this whole world now of, as users start to get into Web 3 is, I want to push the button and have my tokens delivered hot. I want to kill the dragon and get the NFT. I don't care where it is. I just want this to happen for me as a simple user case. And implementing simple user solutions turns out to be hard. And so we provide unique solutions for that, and people have got real excited about that. So that's now got me energized. It's got the community energized. It's really exciting.
Sounds like you guys are bringing simplicity to interoperability and doing it in a safe and secure way on top of Cosmos, which is exciting. And for people who are listening to this and they're like, okay, that sounds really awesome. How do I find that documentation? Like, how do I learn more about Agoric and get involved? What do those next steps look like? So
go to agoric.com, or check out @Agoric on Twitter, X10, whatever you call it. Right? And you'll see both our general side and general stuff and the orchestration work, which is called orchestration. That's how trillions of dollars are coordinated in Web 2 now. That's how trillions of dollars are going to be coordinated in Web 3 in the future. And so that's the place to learn.
Absolutely. Well, Dean, this sounds really awesome. I'm sure a lot of our audience are going to go and check this out, and hope you enjoy the rest of your consistency. Thanks for talking with us, man.
Thank you. And all the developers out there, come check it out.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of NFT reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of those links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.